What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, fatty, juicy, crispy skin. Amazing! Crispy skin pork belly on a pellet grill. Coming up! This is a pork belly. Pat it dry. And what I got here is an absolutely beautiful looking pork belly, good amount of fat, good amount of meat, and it is in fact skin on, because today we're gonna find out if the pellet grill can make one of my favorite bites, which is the crispy skin pork belly. Because crispy skin pork belly has gotta be one of the best bites in all of barbecue. I mean, what's not to like? It's smoky, it's fatty, it's rich, it's meaty, and then you got that textural contrast of the crispy skin on top, that little chicharron top that we're hopefully gonna get. Oh, probably one of the best bites in just food in general. And there are several ways to go about doing this. Oftentimes I'll do it on the Chud box. It really is the perfect cooker for it because that direct heat gets that skin nice and crispy. You can also smoke it, hit it with some boiling oil. I've done them on the offset plenty of times. But of course, you can't talk about crispy skin pork belly without talking about Hoodoo Brown up in Connecticut. Every time I see them at a festival, they're usually cooking it, and I eat an alarming amount of it, and it's been a long time. So I'm pretty excited to make another one. And theoretically, the pellet grill should work out perfectly. But taking a look at this thing, there's really not much to do. It's actually very well butchered, nice and clean, no trimming required. I did get this from meatandbone.com, not sponsored, paid full price, because finding skin on pork belly can be kind of difficult around here. That being said, I have found it around here plenty of times. You just got to go to an Asian or a Mexican supermarket. They usually got it. And usually when I'm making a crispy skin pork belly, I'll just throw it on same day, but that's because I usually forget to leave it out of the fridge overnight. But this time I finally remembered. And what that's going to accomplish is just allow this to air dry, which is going to help it get nice and crispy at the end in theory. So we could just pop this on a wire rack as is, or we could hit it with some rub on the meat side to add a little extra flavor, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some good old-fashioned Chud rub, the OG. Been a minute since this guy made an appearance. And we're just gonna get the top, and we're not gonna forget the sides. But we are gonna try to avoid getting any of this on the skin itself, just for presentation reasons. But any seasonings you like, salt and pepper would be just fine. Honestly, just some salt would probably work out. But adding a little extra flavor never hurt anybody. And that is looking pretty much perfect to me. Flip it over, top side's looking good. Might wipe this down a little bit. So now all we gotta do is pop this on a wire rack on a sheet tray like this and park it in the fridge uncovered overnight to let that skin dry out and let all those seasonings penetrate the meat a little bit. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. And you may be able to hear it, but the pellet grill is in fact fired up over there. And that's not for a video. I'm using it to make a salmon dinner for Brooke right now, which is proof that the pellet grill is really starting to grow on me. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. One overnight later. Out of the fridge this comes, and it's looking pretty good, a little bit drier. Honestly, we could go another couple of days on this probably to get this extra dry, but if you're gonna do that, I wouldn't season it on the underside because then you're probably gonna start curing the meat and drying that out a little bit. But this should work out just fine because we are gonna salt the skin while it's on the pit, which should draw out some more moisture, and you know, cooking it will dry it out a little bit too. So all we gotta do now is fire up the pit. Still got probably an hour's worth of these Smokin pecan shell pellets in there, but I don't have any more. So we're gonna go in with some good old-fashioned B&B oak pellets to top this thing off. And on the pit we go. Typical placement today. Pull that out a little bit, because now we need to go ahead and salt the top of this thing. So to mitigate cleanup, I'm gonna pop this bad boy underneath there. Grab ourselves some table salt. Kosher does work just fine, but I feel like you get a little bit better coverage with table salt. And we're just gonna do a nice, healthy coating all over this thing. A lot of salt on there, but again, this isn't really for seasoning. It's just there to protect the skin from getting too smoky and rubbery and help dry it out so we get that nice, crunchy, crispy skin. Push this back in. I'm just gonna keep this in here because pork belly is pretty fatty, so that'll collect some grease. Keeping the pit nice and clean. And while it fires up, go ahead and shut it down. And per usual, I'm firing this pit up at 350 degrees just to get the thing started up so we don't run into any problems. I did clean it out before this fire up, as I do every time now. Should get a lot of smoke from those Smokin pecan shell pellets, but we topped it off with the B&B because that's all I can get locally to make sure this thing does cook. But as soon as it comes up to temp and stops the heat up cycle, I'm gonna drop it down to 180 degrees, which seems pretty low, but on the top rack, that's probably gonna be about 225. And that's because it's a really thin piece of meat. We're only gonna be cooking it to like 175 or so internal, so that shouldn't take too long, and I do want to get some smoke flavor on there, but again, it's not like a Texas barbecue cut where smoke is the main flavor profile. We're just trying to cook it, and if we get some added flavor on there, I'm happy about it. But it should be a pretty straightforward cook, you know, pretty low and slow at first to bring it up to temp, get that meat starting to cook, let that skin dry out a little bit, then we'll come back in a couple hours, check in on it, and probably bump the temps a little bit. So I'll see y'all in probably 2 hours. We are about 3 hours, maybe 3 hours, 15 minutes into this cook, and I think it's time to take a look at this pork belly. Pit's been holding strong, right around the 225, 250 mark on my little thermometer up there. And it's looking pretty good, looking nice and smoky, got some good color on it. And this salt is one solid piece, which means we know it's done its job, and underneath, that skin is looking nice and clean and a lot more dry. Internal temp is about 165, upward of 180 on that side, 170-ish, so pretty good spot for it. So now what we're gonna do is remove the salt cap, very convenient. Also gonna brush some of this excess salt off the top. And now a little trick I saw Tyler from Hoodoo Brown do one time. Oh yeah, that looks good. We're gonna pop this on a wire rack in a sheet tray, and we're gonna fill the bottom of this tray with some water. And that's gonna make sure the meat side doesn't overcook and stays nice and moist, while leaving that skin exposed to get nice and crispy. So at this stage in the cook, there are several options. We could flip that thing upside down, maybe remove the fire pot and blast that skin that way. We could let it keep cooking at this same temperature until it comes upward to 200 degrees and then pour some hot oil over the skin. But today we're cooking on that wire rack in that pan full of water. I just turned the pit up to 350 degrees and we're gonna let it keep going that way. And the theory is at that hotter temperature, especially with that pork belly raised up right to the roof, we'll get a lot of hot air circulating around it, crisping that skin up nicely, bringing that pork belly internal up to about 200 degrees so it's nice and rendered and nice and tender, and hopefully get a nice glassy crispy skin. So not sure how long it's gonna take, might be an hour, might be 2, but I will let you know. 4 hours later, we are at the 7-hour mark on this cook, and that stuff is looking pretty good. And it's up at about 205 degrees, I just temped it, and it's been there for a while. But let's take a look at it. I also bumped the temps up about an hour ago to 400 degrees. Well, actually I bumped it to 450, but it's holding about 400, 425, just to get a little extra heat on that skin. And it is looking really good, nice and tender, obviously, but not burnt. But we'll take a look at the underside in a minute. And that skin is looking really nice. Should be nice and crispy. And again, we're going for that kind of glassy skin on top, not the super puffy kind. I've done that before, and you could pop this into a broiler at this point, and then it would get that nice, really puffy kind of chicharron style top. But this is what we're after, that nice, shiny, glassy, crispy top. Bottom side looking great, not too burned. That water trick definitely helped us out because otherwise I would have been hammered by the bottom heat coming up from this thing. But holding together, feeling incredibly tender, yet crispy. So off the pit this comes. And I am just a little concerned that this isn't crispy enough, but I think like bacon, it's gonna kind of harden up and get crispier as it cools down, but certainly sounds nice and crispy. So here it shall sit and rest down on this wire rack for the next little bit because it is ripping hot in there. We definitely don't want to slice into it now because it would shred right apart. And then we'll take another look at that skin. It does look really nice though, so I think we're all in the clear. But once it cools down, we'll take another look at it, and if we have to pop it under a broiler or something real quick, we will do so. But I'll see y'all in like 30 minutes. All right, this beautiful crispy skin pork belly has cooled down to about 150 degrees, so let's go ahead and take a slice out of this thing and see how it came out. Gonna start from the meat side, so we'll flip it over and just go ahead and take a little slice out of this. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks so good. That is so much thicker than I ever thought it would be. That's crazy. Looking juicy, hell of a smoke ring on there. I think that's a top layer of fat that might have just got super crispy as well. Let's get another slice going, shall we? Ooh, that's a satisfying noise. Another shot at the inside. Looking nice and meaty. Definitely rendered a lot of fat out of there. So if you're a little sensitive to super fatty pork belly, this might be a good method for you. It's surprising how easily this is slicing up. Ooh, I could do this all day. Gotta say, folks, I'm pretty sure I was wrong about worrying about that skin because it is looking absolutely beautiful. Nice and crunchy on top, fatty, rendered, smoky. But yeah, I'm ready to dive on in. Definitely bust out your heavier knives for this stuff because that skin is super crunchy, but that looks like a good bite to me. Oh, it's so good. That is just an incredible bite of barbecue right there. Perfectly seasoned, definitely nice and smoky. I think those Smokin pecan shells in the beginning really did a good job. You know, because after the first few hours, we bumped it up to like 400 degrees. And not that much smoke coming out of those things at those high temperatures. But I did notice that the pit runs under when it's really hot. Like it was set to 400 degrees, but it was running like 20 degrees under on the thermometer, whereas when I'm at 180 degrees, it runs 20 degrees over. So I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but this is really good. It was perfect. You know, it's funny that I was nervous about this skin not being crispy enough because last time I did a crispy skin pork belly on the offset on this channel, I got to where it was looking like this and I thought the exact same thing. So I panicked and I brought it real close to the fire. I think I flipped it over and I just burned the hell out of it. So then I had to scrape all the black stuff off of it. And I had that same instinct today where I was just saying like we could pop this under a broiler if it's not crispy enough, but sure enough, glassy skin comes out perfect. That is addicting. Addicting. That is something else, folks. It's just juicy. It's fatty, yet it's crunchy, yet it's smoky. Tender, but holding together. It's a perfect bite of barbecue. Like, who doesn't want that lovely little morsel right there? I do. Perfect amount of crispiness too. Not chewy at all. It is interesting though, the first few slices we took off did not look nearly that perfect. Like, this is the second slice. Look at that. I thought the whole thing was gonna look like that, but nope, just the first 2 slices, which is weird. Maybe that was a pure fat end. Yep, that's just pure fat. Not bad though. I just can't get over how picture perfect that is, you know? Nice thin layer of skin on top, crispy, juicy meat. I want more. Yeah. You know, last time I made a crispy skin video, I titled it something along the lines of, "This could dethrone brisket as the king of barbecue." And deep in my heart, I know that that's not true, but it comes really close because this really is one of the best bites in barbecue. And I'm kind of glad that this pork belly is kind of hard to find because otherwise I would make this all the time and then I would die. But this one in particular, out of all the ones I've made, is right up there with the best of the best. Because when I do it on the Chud box, it gets that amazing crispy skin and you get that direct heat flavor, but it doesn't look nearly as pretty as that. Although that doesn't really matter all that much. But this is definitely something I'll be doing again on the Pellet Grill. You know what? First bell ring of the Pellet Grill series, folks. Definitely worth making. And before I eat an unhealthy amount of this stuff off camera, I think it's time for the official taste test. You left some behind. Boop. I'm serious, I'm gonna eat more. Oh, so satisfying. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make some absolutely fantastic, smoky, crispy skin pork belly on a pellet grill. I highly recommend giving this one a try, and truth be told, I've been wanting to make this video for like a year on the channel to really see if a pellet grill will work for making crispy skin pork belly, but I wanted to do some test runs first, and I never quite got around to it. And today I just said screw it and went for it, and I could not be more happy with those results. Really not much to complain about here. If I was gonna change anything, I'd probably just try to speed the process up a little bit. You know, I think the low and slow first 3 hours is pretty good, but I might bump it up to 400 right off the bat, maybe 450, just to shave a few hours off, because it did take a while, and I don't think it's all that necessary. But either way, this came out great, and definitely something I'll be making again in the future. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button, let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you do give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.